Okay, if everybody can grab a seat. So as part of these MBA days, what they always want you to do is give you a little taste of a sample class. And so what I'm going to try to do is give you a little ride here for about 45 minutes. We'll see how we play. And what I'd like to do is try to tackle some really basic principles, okay, in marketing. And so my background is in marketing. I did my PhD in the early 90s after I was an accountant, actually, for Coopers & Lybrand before they merged with Price Waterhouse in the early 90s. And I realized accounting was wrong. Just kidding. And so I came back to school and I did my PhD here at UBC in the 90s. And then I went to Hong Kong for a while, came back to Canada, ended up back here at UBC in 2002. And so I've been a marketing professor until the dean made me go into the dean's office a few years ago. So I'm going to go back to old school marketing, and I'm going to try to tackle three things. And for many of you, right, this probably isn't going to be a big surprise, but for some of you it might be something a little new. Today we're going to talk about segmentation, we're going to talk about targeting, okay, and we're going to talk about life cycle. 1, 2, 3. So hopefully, in 45 minutes, I'm going to give you a little taste. You're going to walk out of here and you're going to know something about this. You're going to know why it's important, maybe, okay? And I'm going to try to convince you that there's some value in these principles. Okay, fair enough. To start off with, what I wanted to do, right, was to frame it in a case study, specifically a case study of BMW films. Some of you have probably seen the BMW films. Some of you have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, that's okay, because I'm going to show you two of the BMW films. Okay? Each of them are about 6 to 8 minutes long, and I'm going to ride through two of them, two of the examples of the BMW films. Okay? So a little video story time. Pull out your popcorn. Here we go. The first one, coming now.
Yeah, come on, put your best. That's a lot of this.
Yeah, sure. So I would give just let one of my pictures with different shapes on here. Get out. What? Get out!
What is it?
It's not in here.
The story.
Sorry.
Dicen nada, ya mismo tiempo, esconde el agua como las flores que esconden el oro. Una mirada no dice nada y al mismo tiempo lo dice todo, como la lluvia sobre tu cara, o el viejo mapa de algún tesoro, como la lluvia sobre tu cara.
Mr. Jacobs.
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs. I was looking for something. I'm really sorry.
Thank you.
Please. Please. Por mi corazón.
Al mismo tiempo, no sé de todo. Tus ojos están mis alas, está la orilla donde me ahogo. Con tus ojos están mis alas, está la orilla
I'm really sorry.
donde me ahogo.
I'll show you a second one, very different.
first thing you notice physically about this lady is her eyes. Bright, blue eyes. If you swear as much you see those answers, then you should cut out, but when you do, it's worth it. The next thing you notice is her hands. Strong, powerful, yet feminine hands. But the real heart stopper that this woman has in her galaxy of talents is her voice. Her $1 billion voice. She's a legend in her own right. She's achieved giddy heights, fear be called. She's unrivaled in her world. And she's complete.
Right it out! Son, get over here! Glenn is here. You say you are a idiot. You are such a moron. This is not what I paid you for.
Glenn, a manager for 7 years. Not a backbone on the man.
Not a problem, Martin. We will work it out, okay?
But he gets paid enough not to help them.
Coffee. I want a coffee. It better not be cold. I think. I'm so over black. Take the bus. This'll do. Take me to the venue.
I'm sorry, I'm booked for someone else.
Yeah, right. Just take me to the venue.
What venue?
I'm embracing this armpit of a town for one night. If you also think I'm going to know the name of the venue in L.R. Pitto, you're sadly mistaken. You are the driver. You are supposed to know.
We're going to Dallas.
We? This is my bone from the neck up, driver friend. I suggest you put your foot down. And next time do your homework. What do you think you're doing?
I'm coming with you, man.
Then get on the roof and hold on tight. Out! Out!
Fall down.
Good idea, guy. What are you waiting for? Let's get out of here before he gets in the car. And don't want him following me.
Don't lose him.
Why are you going so slow?
Excuse me?
You deaf as well as stupid. I said, why are you going so slow? People are waiting for me.
Well, Mom, I wouldn't like to put you in any danger.
Don't marry me, smarty pants. Shame your driving isn't as smart as your mouth. I thought I told you I don't want that car following me. Huh? I'm so smart as to answer that. I'm not smart.
Would you excuse me for a second? Hello?
Hey, you doing okay?
Yeah, she's fine. I'll take care of her.
No rush. Show her the sights. Give her everything I paid you for. And dinner.
She'll be there on time.
Keep your eyes on the road instead of on me. We're not getting somewhere.
Let me see what I can do. Just a sec. Looks like we've lost him, sir. Let's try again.
Okay, so those were two of the original series of BMW films. Two very different ones, and I chose them with intent. What I wanted to do, and some of you have probably seen them before. How many of you actually, that was the first time you've seen them? Whoa, because you're all babies, that's why. So, okay, let's break it down, right? Because we've seen something that was put out about 15 years ago, okay, if you want a date on it, okay, close to 15 years ago. And I'll tell you what happened, okay? But first off, I want to break it down a little bit. You saw them, two very different ones. Now let's see what you think, okay? This is classic MBA experience. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come at you. And if you don't want to answer the question, that's okay. Just say, Darren, I don't know, I'm going to pass. I'm going to pass to the person next to me. Because they look really good today, they did their hair nice. Boom, right? And just throw your friend under the bus, okay? Now, I watched a lot of you as you watched these films, and there was different reactions. Some of you were laughing, enjoying the films. Others were like, ah! Some of you seemed quite offended, okay? And that's what I wanted, right? So if I pick on you right here, on that first film, right, you were kind of like, you're like, yeah, I totally was. So give me your reaction. What is your feeling on these films? Just what came to mind as you watched them? Did you like them? Did you hate them?
One of them was a bit of a political film, and the other one was, I wonder why is Guy Ritchie doing that to his ex-wife?
So, well, they actually were married at the time, and that could be part of the divorce. I'm not sure. Right? But there's no question. So you had a lot of questions, right? You saw the first one was very political, right? The second one just made you say, why? Okay, those are good reactions, okay? If I come over here to this gentleman here looking very nice, and his Ralph Lauren top, I like it. Tell me, what's your reaction? What did you think of the film?
First one, they try to track using the emotional side of it.
Okay.
And
So a very emotional film. Right, a little heart tug at the end, perhaps?
and the second one would have more animal thing attached to it. Body.
Okay. Next. Super. You like the Superstar? Saw the jacket. Very nice. Good product placement. Superstar. Excellent. Okay. Superstar. Next door. What do you got? Your reaction.
First thing, I guess, is have a car guy. So,
It's your car guy.
two different types of vehicles entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Located at two entirely different types of audience, I guess.
Okay.
But part of the film, I guess for me, let's say you switch the two cars around, just that simple change around, it wouldn't have been.
Was there too much car? Was it like BMW everywhere? Or was it
So
just
the thing to do was the BMW from the first time, you just did one little turn, and that's all you saw. And then you thought, whatever.
fairly subtle to like some of the other programs we see? Like I remember Friends back in the day. Pottery Barn was everywhere, right? This one a little more subtle. Other thoughts? Anyone else have a reaction they want to share? Hit me.
The first one, kind of offensive.
You found it offensive. Tell me more. Why?
Just that they were like using the story of how this guy died and everything sell BMWs.
Yeah. It's a very. And what's Clive doing, right?
I don't know.
And what's interesting is Clive Owen was in all of these films. This was actually, it's so long ago, it was before Clive Owen actually became a star. And so they got him to work basically for donuts because he hadn't made it big yet. It was just lucky for BMW that they had chosen someone that would go on to be very, very major. Absolutely. But some people do find that first one very offensive. Someone, clearly passed here, massacre, and now we're selling BMWs. Okay, so offensive. Other thoughts up top. Too much.
It didn't,
Defend your answer. Why do you say that?
it didn't make me think of the car at all.
So,
It was on political issues. It was on war photographers.
Right.
Think about the times.
right. Did it make you feel happy about a BMW?
No.
What happened to the BMW? Yeah, I didn't even notice there was a car. Was there a car? Fair. The second one made you want the car.
Fun.
It was fun.
Showcasing the things that car could do.
Okay. Fun. Right. So you've had a real mixture in terms of the two. I like it. Next door.
The second one seemed like a classical archetype of how you sell a car, and the first one isn't. The first one is definitely similar to my neighbor. I felt like I was watching a movie, and I wanted to know the story about this guy that was being rescued by the UN,
Right.
as opposed to the car itself.
So the first one was really, a storyline really did develop. What's interesting about these BMW films is the company gave complete creative license to the directors in all of the first series, right? Each of them, whether it was Guy Ritchie, John Woo, maybe you know some of these names, right? They said, film what you want. So they actually had creative license in terms of storyline. Up top, way top, back row.
On that, Area and Richie both ended up doing films that are classic forms of their cinematography.
Yeah, and you saw that running through. So they were true to the directors. Okay? True to the directors. Any other comments? Boy, that's already. I'll go here first.
Your second one, first one is more for subconscious, so you feel a safe place.
So you got safe face out of that? They were shooting each other. There was blood everywhere. I need to party with you. Like, I don't know.
It's a safe place, and after it was showing driving experience, how it's responsive, how it can go off-road.
Yeah, so
Not so straightforward.
right, so that's a bit of a pushback from up above. It showed that the car could really take a beating, right, and actually get across the board. So, because that happens every day in Vancouver, right? We got to get to Richmond somehow. Okay, I'm with you. Okay. Story from...
More straightforward, showing you the car itself.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Take a couple over here. Side by side. Who wants it?
So I think in those both movies, BMW wanted to show the aggressiveness of its brand, this power driver-oriented car.
Yeah.
So that was the image, especially in the second movie.
So very, very aggressive. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Next door.
I don't think I'm the target audience because I didn't want a BMW at all.
Did you want a BMW before I showed you those films? You did, now you don't. Fair enough.
I much prefer the ones where you see an SUV and all the different things it can do, and you're like, oh, that's very functional.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, you want to...
Okay, I like it. So this is not for you, show functional.
No.
Where am I going to put my yoga mat? Again, just teach. Go more.
Oh,
No, I want more.
oh, maybe you want a driver more than you wanted a vehicle.
You know what's beautiful about these films is everybody gets something different out of them. It made you want to drive it. That's another reason to do the MBA. I'm just going to be honest with you. Driver.
Yeah. So the one was using sexual driving.
Okay, so there was some sexual connotations in the second one. That's true. That's absolutely true. Typical Guy Ritchie. Very good.
I think these two films just focus on completely just different customer groups. Different segmentation.
Okay. Well,
And also the first one, it's not quite matched with the common image of BMW because BMW is like driving fun and passion and all this.
Yeah.
And the first one they see it more like humanity and also like heritage. I mean, I have a feeling that the director or the marketing guy, they want to put more into the traditional image of BMW, but it's not making me very comfortable with the.
Okay, so a lot of mixed feelings, and I'm going to hold the class for just a second because we could go. I'm on a time leash, guys, but we could probably go for 20, 30 minutes just getting the different reactions. If I ask just a vote, show of hands, who liked them, who didn't like them? Okay, so you can see and that's to be expected, right? Why? It's because they're very different types of films, and I chose two at the very extreme. One thing that didn't bubble up, right, is you'll notice, in those films, there was a lot of profanity, right? And it was interesting when the F-bomb was being dropped in the first one, and then he's like, S-bomb. I'm not supposed to say them out loud, right? But think about what was being said, right? Some of you would like cringe. Others of you are like, yeah, right? So there's real differences in this crowd, which will make for an interesting class, right? But there was a lot of profanity in both of them, right? There was a lot of violence in both of them. And you could say the second one was funny, but there was a lot of violence there. And in some ways, very offensive violence when you think about it. Think about it a little deeper, right? These are, in some ways, aggressive films. And I like that someone said aggressive. When you think, and some of you may have kids, and you have kids here, that happened? Yeah, it happens, okay? Kids. Would you show those to your kids? Sunday night, 4 o'clock? I was like, no! Kids, no! I'm not sure if you're saying no to kids or you're saying no to the films, sure. I'm not really sure, but you wouldn't show them to your kids. Why?
The first one is it will expose my kids to a world which right now is not that place to be exposed to. Second, again, it's very aggressive. It just shows if you want to show aggression to somebody, there's another way of passive aggressive way of showing aggression, and that's something I don't want my kids to do.
I'm completely with you. I'm not going to speak for the entire class, but I think most of us are right with you, right? I have 3 kids. There's no way I would show those to my kids. They're all under 10 years old right now. That's just not on. It's not a Disney experience. There's no princesses running through that stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? So, to me, you're right. So what the heck is BMW doing? Right? That's the question I want to hold you with, because now I'm going to shift gears. Okay? Why did BMW do this? And was it successful? Yes or no? Okay? But we're going to shift. Now I want to ask you about segmentation. Right? And some of you actually flared a bit with target and segmentation. Well, most of you can figure out what segmentation is, right? Segmentation, very simply, is coming to the recognition that everyone is not the same, right? If you think, and maybe you probably watch Mad Men, right, back in the day, making ads, and you made them for everybody, right? In the 50s, 60s, 70s, when we thought about marketing, we marketed to everybody. Everybody needed soap, and we were going to sell them one kind of soap. Right? But as marketing has evolved, we've come to realize in business that people are really different. And because there's differences across populations, right, we can make different products do different things to appeal to different chunks or groups of people. And that's called segmentation. Right? And so one of my favorite odd stories, I guess, happened a couple of years ago. And when you're a professor at a university, the newspaper people always call you, right? They're looking for a talking head. Really, we don't know the question they're asking, but they call us and they expect us to say something smart, right? So that's great. So typically you get 1 or 2 of these a week, right? And so I remember about 2 years ago, I got a call, and a wonderful female reporter from one of the smaller little papers back east, and she gets me on the phone. She's like, Derek. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Right? It's like, oh, I am upset. And I'm like, uh-oh, what did I do? Right? And I'm like, why are you upset? And she's like, oh, have you seen this new product? And I'm like, quickly getting on Google, because I probably haven't seen the product, right? And she's like, it's called chick beer. And I'm like, I have not ever seen or heard of chick beer, right? So I'm Googling it as quickly as I can, right? Chick beer. What is she talking about? She's like, I find this product offensive. And I popped it up on the screen, and she's right. It's an offensive product, right? It's beer-shaped bottle. It's pink. It's in a pink handbag. It's the carrying case for a 6-pack, right? And she's like, this is setting the women's movement back 10 years. And I'm like, I'm totally with you. It really is. She's like, then I want to know, Mr. Marketing, why is it selling? She says, I talked to all my friends, and we think it's terrible and ridiculous. And I said, I'm not surprised by that, right? Because your friends are like you. You form a very specific segment. You say, well, it's really successful. They're growing as a company. How can that be? And I said, well, let's think about who's buying it. And she says, well, from what I can gather, it's young people between the ages of 19 to 25. And they're taking it to parties. And they think it's funny. And it's not funny. And I said, you're totally right on all accounts, right? But what you've seen is segmentation. Here's a company that's identified a group of people that have very specific needs. They want to poke fun at society, maybe. Poke fun at gender roles, maybe. Think they're funny, maybe. And so they're buying this product. Right? It doesn't appeal to you. But frankly, the people that are producing that product don't want you to buy the product. Because one thing we know about young people, right? Anything that I wear, my daughter wants nothing to do with. Right? That's the notion of segmentation. People are different. And so as a good business, as a good marketer, it's almost as much as finding out who you want to sell to as who you don't want to sell to. And that becomes a segmentation system. So if I bring that back to BMW, not to the films, right? And we play a fun little game of segmentation with BMW. And let's think in the 90s, right, before they proliferated on their various models. What was BMW built on? What three models, if you will, as a car company? Now they have many different models. But if you think back in the day, this is not hard. It's not a trick question. Jane, what do you got? You going to pass? No idea. Yes, you do. Yeah. 3 Series. Excellent. What else we got? 5 Series? 7 Series. Excellent. This class is excellent. Admit all of them. Right? 3 Series, 5 Series, 7 Series. 7 Series. Right? And it's in a pyramid. Why? Well, they sell a ton of 3 Series, right? And their margin on 3 Series is much smaller than it is on 7 Series. They sell a lot fewer in 7 Series. And what they're trying to do at BMW, obviously, is get you as a loyal customer, right? And then migrate you as you move forward in life, right? And if you broke down the segment by demographics and psychographics, and these are the bases of segmentation that you'd learn about if you took marketing, right? And I asked you, stereotype, who drives a 3 Series? Who is the segment that drives this car? What would you tell me? How old? Younger. How old? 30s? Yeah, 30s, okay. So 30s to 40. So this person's 30 to 40. Male or female? Male, okay. Male. What are they doing for a career? Like a bank. Okay, banker. Young professional. Okay, sure. Married? No. No. So automatic, your reaction. Not married. Middle income, maybe? Okay. Middle income now. Kids? See, I was waiting to see where you're going to go with that. All right. Maybe no kids. Hey, where is this person living in Vancouver? Yaletown. Okay, we'll go with Yaletown. Okay? So there you go. You've got a demographic, a psychographic profile on who is that 3 Series segment. So let's jump it. 5 Series. Male, female? Still the male. BMW is actually a male brand. How old? Yeah, probably 40. This is the target typically, 40 to 55. What are they doing now? They're married. I like that. They're married now. They finally got it together, and they got married. It's so funny. Some of you are like, oh, I'm right to the job. But upstairs, they're like, no, let's get serious. They finally got married. Yeah. Kids? 2 kids, dog. Okay. 2 kids. Cool. What are they doing? Did they get promoted? Yeah, probably partner now at the firm or something, right? Pretty good. Okay. Where are they living? West Van. Okay. Now they're living in West Van. Okay, that's cool. 7 Series. Finish it up. Male. Male. I'm going to get that question right. Male. Fair enough.
This one I'm going to actually say that maybe the demographics don't necessarily follow the same path. They're going to be elites.
Okay.
So you could have a young elite with a 7 series. You could have a middle-aged elite.
You could. You could.
Or you could have somebody...
Totally true. And so I'm playing stereotypes, but there's no question you're going to see migration. Someone usually brings up drugs at some point too, right? Or hip hop artists. Absolutely true, right? And we could frame it that way. But if we follow this path, right? I do agree with you, elites. How are you here? Divorced? Second wife? What are you going with here? Trophy wife? What are you saying? What's wrong with you? Okay. Yeah. Every bad stereotype. Appreciate that. All right, but let's say there's 60 to 75. Let's play that out. Sure. Yeah, and certainly there's different bases of segmentation. And income is going to correlate, frankly, with the profession, probably more so than whether you're married or not, right? And you can use a proxy when you do segmentation for income if you don't have that data available. Here I'm using, for example, what they do. And so if this guy, let's say divorced 60, 75, maybe retired now, right? Or maybe a CEO, who knows? Where are they living? Point Grey. Yeah, they've managed to pay off their house finally. Exactly. So a very crude model, and you've seen from the class a bit of pushback on other things you could think about with segmentation, right? But a very rough idea, okay, of what a segmentation system, looking at demographics, might look like for BMW. So if I go back to the film, what's going on? Because once you build a segmentation system, you have to figure out who to target. Okay? Let me just repeat that. Segmentation is about breaking out the buckets of the population. Right? Young versus old, rich, income versus poor, educated versus not educated, humanities versus applied science. You can segment on anything that is measurable. Okay? Snowboarders versus skiers. That's a segmentation system. Okay? Anything that you can measure, you can segment. Now, once you've built your system, who are you going to go after? Who is the target, right, of what you're trying to do? In this situation, we did a bunch of films, right? It actually cost BMW only $10 million to build this film series. That's all it cost. Yeah, Clive Owen literally did work for donuts on this one. Okay? Was it money well spent? The big question is, who were they targeting? Were they targeting these guys, 7 Series guys? You're saying no. Why? Defend. Yeah, bring it. No. I'm putting you in a box. You said no to 7. Can't go to 3 yet. We'll get there soon. Why not 7?
Well, it's the wrong segment.
Why? I want you to defend.
Because the sort of movies they made was targeted for the younger audience.
So you're just saying old people don't watch movies? What are you saying?
That they were targeting was different.
So you think that it was younger people, but why wouldn't old people... Big stereotypes are just flying around here, by the way. Why would they not like those movies? So your guess would be that these are too offensive. Okay? So, and to be truthful, you're 100% correct. When BMW designed this promotional effort, they said, we don't want these people to see it. Why? It's just too risky. These are aggressive, violent, profanity-laden films, right? These people are the blue bloods of society, or maybe drug dealers, right? And so we're not targeting. Okay? Well, what about the 5 Series then? So if it's not 7 Series, you buy it, she's still shaking her head no. She's so set on 3 Series, we can't talk her out of it. Was this targeted to 5 Series owners in that breakout? Right there. Yeah.
No, I think so.
No, why? Defend.
Both of the films cater to an audience who would react to something. So the first one, you're going to react because you're filled with a lot of sensory issues. And I think there's a certain demographic of age where those types of issues become more, elicit a little bit more emotion, a little bit more feedback. I don't think it's 40-50s to kids.
So you're also, and see I can put words in your mouth, you're saying that they're not emotional, or what?
I think the reaction would be a little bit calmer. to something that they've been exposed to.
So you're saying those types of films probably wouldn't resonate to someone who's trying to raise their 5, 6-year-old.
I think their focus might be a little bit different.
Focus might be a little bit different. And I think that's right. Up top.
I'd almost argue that the 5 Series demographic might have been swayed by that first commercial. Somebody earlier made a really good point about it showed the durability of the car.
Yeah.
And if I'm a parent with 2 kids, I'm going to be looking at a car that can withstand anything for the protection of my children.
Totally fair. Would that be the best messaging to prove that point? Would be the question. But it's worth asking. Yeah. And that's what's interesting. And that's the type of dialogue, frankly, that we would have if we were with BMW discussing the intent here. Okay? I'm going to move us to 3 series. I know there's lots of hands, but sadly we can only do 45. You can see how though it flares, right? We get a great class, and everybody just brings it, and it's fun. Right? 3 series, yes or no? My man in blue says no. Defend. The rest of the crowd thinks you're crazy because you're saying no. There's no other. What are you talking about?
I think they're trying to break out of the rut and just explore new segments. I think they gave creative control to the filmmakers so that they could do something completely new and just find someone else to buy the cars.
Isn't that dangerous for their brand? The ultimate driving machine. That was the name of the brand at that point in time. Now they're the ultimate bullet-ridden, blood-soaked profanity machine. Is that good?
Well, it could be conceived as bad, but at the same time, these people might not be watching it. Also, I think they were trying to release new cars at the time. Potentially, like the SUV, for example, is not a 3, 5, or 7.
So you're bringing up a couple of great, what I would call moderator points, right? That Darren, it's not as simple as 753 and that classic breakout. Totally true. But if I continue in the box of the 3, you say no to the 3, but why? Because I take your arguments, actually. Very interesting arguments. But why not the 3? The 3 are going to be interested in new cars. Maybe those 3 series want to break out of the rut. No?
Are just not that particular.
Okay. So you're wandering. If I chased you, I'd say, okay, that's the one. See, in an MBA, we're going to push back, right? So if you wander a bit, I'll chase you a bit. Because the ideas haven't quite, he's there. Because the truth is, right, it wasn't targeted for this. If you talk to the organization, they weren't targeting 3 series.
These are something a clean, professional type.
Exactly. What color?
Like maybe a neat goatee, something like that. Reach up in the ear. That's not what you see when you think of 3 series.
Yeah.
And I think these were just different. They weren't meant to appeal to that clean person.
It was not.
They were dirty.
You're actually correct. They were dirty.
It shows how well you can
Yeah, absolutely. So who are they targeting? Let's push the class. Who is it then?
I actually agree. I was going to say because with the first film, I watched that and I thought there's no way in hell a BMW would ever be used in that instance. If that was real, it's not a BMW you're going to see flying through that community.
Probably like a Land Rover.
Something entirely different. Or just a straight up Toyota Troopy. Like it's not going to be, UN8 vehicles are not
She knows her cars.
But yeah, I agree. I don't think it was the kind of professional, clean banker at all. I think they're trying to kind of reinvigorate and go after something.
So you've got support on both sidelines. We've got support, and I'm going to hold it. We're not going to debate it. We're going to say they win. Okay. But my bigger question is, which you didn't answer: who are they going after then? What the hell are they doing? Center.
I think they're going for a segment that wants to buy a car or a product from a company that's innovative and trendy and doing something different. I don't think it's both car at all.
So it's people that just want to shake up the norm. Who are those people? I would agree. Up top, way up top.
People who want to actually make they want to stand out a little bit. They want to go after the brand, but a brand that kind of like goes off the mainstream. So I really think that ad was probably targeting all the series over there. Because to me, BMW is a luxury class of vehicles.
Yeah.
And 3 Series, and both the films didn't really show any luxury aspect.
Nope. They didn't. And that's a good guess. I'm going to push back and say no. I'm going to push back and say no. And I'm going to give you punchline because I'm coming close to time. It wasn't this, wasn't this, wasn't this. The target on this was actually here. People between the ages of 18, 25, male, in school. Right? Why? Why this group? Yeah, go. I really want to answer.
Mostly about product placement before they decide to buy a car. This appeals to the aggressiveness of male young students. It also appeals at this age, you're also idealistic. So the first one would appeal to the idealistic side. The second one would appeal to the sporty, the urban message there was very clear on that end. So it's not for them to buy it right now, but a few years down the line when they have money, then they get into the BMW.
And that's 100%. So the intuition there, and I'll hold questions and start to give you the end of the story, right? That we need to seed the future, right? That, we have our 3 Series, 5 Series, 7 Series, and we have all these types of people already entrenched in our car. What we need to do is ensure that the life cycle, third point, with respect to the product and the brand, continues to be robust over time. And I'll explain what that means in a second. They were terrified, though, that these films would have a negative impact specifically on the top of the pyramid. And one of the brilliant points of this campaign, why it's a classic case in marketing and segmentation, right, is they released these films. How did they release them? Does anyone know? They did it on one of the first online moves ever. Right? Why did they do that? It was never distributed in public. Well, it was later, actually. But it was never broadly mass media distributed. 100%. It was all done with intent, right, to protect these people so that they would never see it. Think 15 years ago. How long would it take those films to download 15 years ago? And that was done with intent. It would take well over an hour and a half. Who has the time to do that? 18 to 25-year-olds. Because they're not reading textbooks. Right? The older generation at that time, again a stereotype, but some truth to it, A, wouldn't have the time, wouldn't know how to do it, wouldn't care. Right? More traditional methods, more traditional channels. Right? BMW made the sign-up to actually watch the films onerous. So if you've got a bunch of kids, right, you're 40, you're into the internet, but I don't have time to fill out this form that takes me 20 minutes, then download the damn films for an hour and a half to watch Madonna get jostled around in the back seat. I don't care. Right? What became very interesting about these films was, only a couple million people saw it. But it was these people here. Right? And the films bled up. And BMW can point to this as one of the best successes they've ever had with respect to marketing. They got Business Week coverage. Right? They estimated the PR impact of this campaign was well over $300 million for a $10 million down payment and some donuts to the club. Today even, people still watch the BMW film series. Now, of course, many companies have tried to replicate it, and they failed, right? It's really hard to build something viral, build something on the internet and catch fire. This was one of the first to ever actually do this. It's a wonderful story in terms of segmentation and targeting, protecting your investment that you built, but then also seeding the future. I said I'd get back to life cycle, right? Anyone that's familiar with product life cycle systems, it's the notion that everything grows and dies, right? And we know that there's a huge product modifier here. And what I mean by that is technology, it has a very quick life cycle, right? It just goes fast. Catch up, much longer life cycle, right? Cars do also have a life cycle. Brands have a life cycle, right? And so BMW had experienced in the early 80s when they looked at their sales, and I've run out of board, but when they looked at their sales, they had a dip, right? So they were doing great, They hit actually the early 80s, and they actually fell, and then they started to go like this again, right? And you can remember the James Bond product placements here in the early, those of you that are old enough to remember that, right? And they were on this uptick. And that's when they decided, we don't want to have any slowdown with our brain. We need to see the future so that young people in their 20s that can't afford a BMW right now, 10 years from now, will think this is still a pretty cool brand. And what's funny is when I've taught the case, I've actually had, years ago, kids in the class say, I was one of those guys that downloaded. And I'll be like, what do you own? I own an M3. I'm like, yeah, they got you. Right? The campaign was a success in that way. Huge gamble, but a huge success. We do know, when you think of Oldsmobile, you know this brand, Oldsmobile? So this died as a brand. Their last campaign, actually, was this is not your father's Oldsmobile. Like, you're just killing yourself when that's your last advertising campaign. I can't actually buy a Cadillac because my grandmother drove a Cadillac, and whenever I get in one, I kind of smell her perfume. I'm like, I just can't do it. I love my grandma, but I'm not going to. No. Right? All cars have life cycles. How you manage that is important. Cadillac has also done a brilliant job of reinvigorating their brand. What I've tried to do today in my 45 minutes is share with you an interesting story, a case study on BMW. We kicked it around a bit as a class, right? And we learned what segmentation is, why it's important in business, how it marries to targeting, and how you have to think in a long-term way when it comes to the products, the brands, the businesses that you're working with. What is the life cycle of the organization that you're working with? I'll leave it with you at that, and I'll turn it back to the team. Thanks for being fun and participating. Hopefully it was enjoyable.